Dr. Heidegger was a very unusual man. One day, he invited 4 of his old friends to visit him in his office. These friends were 3 elderly men, Mr. Medbourne, Colonel Killigrew, and Mr. Gascoigne, and 1 elderly woman, the widow Wycherley. They were all sad, unlucky people who had made mistakes in their lives. When Mr. Medbourne was young, he had lost all his money in a bad business deal. Colonel Killigrew had wasted his youth and health enjoying the pleasures of women and drinking too much. Mr. Gascoigne had once been a politician, but his reputation was ruined because of his evil actions. The widow Wycherley had once been a great beauty, but rumors and shocking stories about her past had caused the people in town to reject her. Because of this, she lived alone and had no friends. It is worth mentioning that all 3 men, Mr. Medbourne, Colonel Killigrew, and Mr. Gascoigne, had been in love with the widow Wycherley when they were younger. At one point, they had even been ready to fight each other because of her. "My dear old friends," said Dr. Heidegger, "I need your help with one of my experiments." He gestured for them to sit down. Dr. Heidegger's office was a very strange place. It was dark and dusty, with books and cobwebs everywhere. There was an old mirror on the wall between 2 bookshelves. People said that this mirror showed the ghosts of all the patients the doctor had treated, but who had died. On another wall hung a painting of a young woman. This was Sylvia Ward, who had been Dr. Heidegger's fiancée. She had died the night before their wedding after drinking one of the doctor's medicines. The strangest thing in the room was a large black leather book. People said it was a book of magic. That summer afternoon, there was a black table in the middle of the room. On the table stood a beautiful glass vase filled with water, and next to it were 4 empty glasses. Dr. Heidegger was known for doing unusual experiments, but his 4 friends didn't expect anything very interesting to happen. The doctor picked up his black leather book. From between its pages, he carefully took out an old dried-up rose. "This rose," said the doctor, "was given to me 55 years ago by Sylvia Ward, the woman in the painting on the wall. I was supposed to wear it at our wedding. Do you think this old dry rose could ever bloom again?" "That's ridiculous," said the widow Wycherley, shaking her head. "That's as impossible as an old woman's wrinkled face becoming young again." "Let me show you," replied Dr. Heidegger. He reached for the vase of water and dropped the dried rose into it. Almost immediately, something amazing happened. The rose, which had been brown and withered, began to change. The crushed petals started to move, and their color turned from brown to red. Before long, the rose looked fresh and alive, just as it had 55 years ago when Sylvia Ward had given it to him. "That's an amazing trick," said the doctor's friends. "How did you do it?" Have you ever heard of the Fountain of Youth? Asked Dr. Heidegger. The Spanish explorer Ponce de Leon searched for it many years ago, but couldn't find it. That's because he was looking in the wrong place. I believe the Fountain of Youth is in southern Florida. A friend of mine sent me this water from it. Dr. Heidegger filled the 4 glasses with water from the vase. Tiny bubbles floated to the surface, making the water shimmer. He offered the glasses to his guests. "Before you drink," said the doctor, "you should think about your past mistakes and agree on some rules to guide you. You've already lived a lifetime and learned many lessons. Imagine how foolish it would be if you didn't use that wisdom to avoid repeating your mistakes." His friends laughed loudly. The idea that they would repeat their youthful mistakes seemed funny to them. "All right then," said Dr. Heidegger. "Drink. I am confident that I have chosen the right people for this experiment." The 4 old friends lifted their glasses and drank the water. Almost immediately, something began to change. A warm, glowing feeling spread through their bodies. Their faces brightened as if touched by sunlight. They smiled and looked at each other, noticing the changes in their appearance. The wrinkles on their faces seemed to smooth out. "This is incredible," they cried. "But we're not young enough yet. Give us more of this amazing water." "Be patient," said Dr. Heidegger calmly. "It took you many years to grow old. Surely you can wait a little while to grow young again." The doctor poured more water into their glasses, and they drank eagerly. This time, the changes were even more dramatic. Their hair, which had been gray or white, became darker. Their eyes, once dull, sparkled brightly. They looked like younger versions of themselves. Colonel Killigrew turned to the widow Wycherley and said, "My dear widow, you look absolutely lovely." The widow ran to the mirror to admire herself. Meanwhile, the 3 men began to behave like young people again. Mr. Gascoigne started talking about politics, discussing ideas like nationalism and the rights of the people. He whispered political secrets to himself. Colonel Killigrew sang loud drinking songs and couldn't stop looking at the widow Wycherley. Mr. Medbourne started dreaming about making money. He imagined a strange business plan to send ice to the East Indies by tying whales to icebergs and towing them there. The widow Wycherley, standing in front of the mirror, smiled at her reflection as if it were her best friend. "Doctor," she said, "please give me another glass of this water." The doctor poured the water again. As the 4 guests drank their 3rd glass, the room grew darker because the sun had set. However, a soft glow seemed to come from the vase, lighting up the room. The doctor watched them carefully. His face looked calm but mysterious. As they drank, the magic water worked even faster. The 4 guests were now at the height of their youth. They were full of energy and happiness. All the pain, sadness, and weakness of old age seemed like a bad dream they had woken up from. "We are young," they shouted, laughing and dancing around the room. The widow Wycherly, looking young and beautiful again, ran to Dr. Heidegger and asked him to dance with her. "Please forgive me," said the doctor with a polite smile. "My dancing days are long over. But these three gentlemen would be delighted to have such a lovely partner." The three men quickly surrounded the widow Wycherly, arguing and fighting over who would dance with her. In their struggle, they knocked over the table. The vase fell to the floor and shattered into pieces. The water from the fountain of youth spilled out and disappeared into the cracks in the floor. Suddenly, the four friends stopped moving. A strange coldness crept over them. They looked at each other and saw the changes happening. Their smooth skin became wrinkled again. Their hair turned gray. They were becoming old once more. "Are we really old again?" they asked, horrified. "Yes, my friends," said Dr. Heidegger. "The water's effects don't last long. And now the water is gone." The doctor held up the rose, which was drying and fading back into its old, withered state. "But even if I had a river of this water flowing by my door, I wouldn't drink it," said the doctor. "This experiment has taught me an important lesson." However, his four friends didn't seem to learn the same lesson. They decided that they would go to Florida to find the fountain of youth and drink from it every day for the rest of their lives.